Hello, everyone. We are back. It has been 5 minutes, more like a fortnight, really. I'm Anna Samkova. Welcome to Spotlight Fridays. I work with retail and e-commerce brands on customer and loyalty strategy. In this series, I put a spotlight on people in our industry who are solving real problems across CX, digital, and operations. And here we are. Our next guest is Jevon from Kia. Welcome, Jevon.
Hey, thanks for having me, Anna. I really appreciate being on the show. And I'm Jevon, the co-founder and CEO of Kia. My background is in e-commerce, retail, wholesale. So I've had a split across all of it and have built businesses ground up myself before. And then also had some great CEO roles at PE Nation, Surfstitch, Papinel, and a little bit of time in coffee retail.
You've got a very rich background, including being an expat from South Africa. I'm married to South African, so I really appreciate the accent. So thank
Yeah.
you. And I
Yeah.
believe you were a professional surfer as well.
Yeah, so I did. I started my career as a professional. I don't want to say if that was a career, but I dropped out of high school to compete on the world tour. And I did that for a couple of years and then spent about 8 years working for Billabong, who was my sponsor as a sales agent. And that's kind of where I cut my teeth in the space, being a door-to-door sales agent with racks of rails, rolling into retail stores and selling product and then kind of built up into building Hurley, the Nike surfwear brand in South Africa, ground up. We went from everyone saying it wasn't possible to be a success to market leader. So, yeah, a lot of time in many different roles, generally really challenging roles. I don't think I've had one unchallenging role. And getting thrown into building Kiyu from ground up is probably the most challenging out of all of them.
Oh, wow. Let's
Yeah,
unpack that. So,
yeah,
challenging roles is good because that means, well, I don't want to be unpacking you psychologically, but I think challenging roles, it means that you strive on growth and evolution and becoming better every day. That's my interpretation of it. And I'm not a psychoanalyst by any means of
yeah,
imagination, but
yeah.
um, Kiyu, let's talk about that. Why is it most challenging? And then I have at least 10 questions for you. I would love to
Yeah,
go through all of them.
yeah. Well, let's hope we cover all of them. Why is it the most challenging? Because we're reinventing customer service as you know it. For the last 20 years since Zendesk built the help desk solution with a ticketing system to manage complaints, customer service teams have always waited for the customer to reach out and then reactively fix that upstream ops issue. My co-founders and I, and sorry, those service teams are measured on first response time, average handle time, resolution time, CSAT. But my co-founders and I figured out that if you can spot that upstream issue in real time, you can then fix it before it becomes a ticket, and it's no longer first or resolution time. It is complaint prevention, and so we're having to reinvent a category ground up. And 2 years ago, a lot of people said it couldn't be done because of the complexity of the technology build. And a year ago, people were like, oh, are you the right people to build this solution? And most recently, Zendesk tried to hire all of our engineers because they want to build the same solution. So,
I must
yeah.
say, Jevon, that when Zendesk first came in, I didn't hear from them 20 years ago, but maybe 16 years ago, I was very excited. I
Mm,
thought, okay, well, that's the breakthrough. And here
mm.
we are now talking about how to solve CX in real time. So, um, a $1 million question that every single customer will ask at some point in their online shopping journey: where is my order?
Mm.
Why do you say it's not a CX problem?
Because it happens upstream in the ops from that moment that order is placed, paid for, processed, picked, packed, and shipped. It happens upstream through that order journey, whether it's a human situation, a process situation, or a system situation. Those upstream ops issues then impact the customer because the customer didn't get what they want. And the CX team is just there to triage that inbound ticket. because they don't have visibility today of what's happening upstream, they only find out about that problem after the fact. And so that's why I don't see it as a CX problem, because the CX are just fixing the problem that the customer has. And when we hit buy on the buy button, none of us opt into having to chase up a company to find out where that order is.
Very true.
That's the short of it, why I don't see it as a CX issue. I see it as an ops issue.
Yeah, I've heard you saying that before. That's why I asked you this question, but I'm
Yeah.
very happy with your answer. Thank you so much. So, upstream. What usually breaks first after checkout that causes these tickets to pile up, in your view?
I don't think I see it as whack-a-mole, right? Like post-purchase ops is exceptionally complex because you got all these systems of record that are managing that order journey, and they design. When I say system of record, a commerce storefront, payment gateway, ERP, WMS, and they designed to perform a function, and they're not designed to connect to the customer promises, which is when you hit buy at the checkout, there is a customer promise established when you're going to get it. And so when that failure happens, it fails silently. So it's just no rhyme or reason. It's like whack-a-mole. One week you could have a ton of stock outs. The next week you could have a bunch of fraud things. You could have a SKU mismatch, a system sync issue, a failed delivery, unmanifested. You get all these things and they just happen like whack-a-mole. Once you think you fixed one thing, something else pops up. And when you throw humans into that, it just gets like super all over the place. So I can't really say there's one specific thing. I just think there's a lot of different things, and that's why it makes it complex.
Yeah, but I think everything what you've mentioned, all of those things, not in isolation, but they do pop
Yeah,
up, to your point.
yeah,
So,
yeah. They do pop up.
why is it in 2026 the support team have to jump between so many systems just to answer one simple question, where is my order?
Yeah, well, when that happens, they've got a customer's name, an email address, maybe they got an order number, and there's no one place to go drop that information in and then establish exactly where it's broken. There is nothing that exists like that, and that's what we're building for. And why is it difficult? Because I think the progression of e-commerce from the very beginning, which was like, hey, you make a payment, figuring out how to get products online, then figuring out how to make secure payment. And we had all this evolution of time like social shopping or next day delivery or buy now, pay later, and constantly new applications are being loaded into a stack. And they were just bolt-ons, bolt-ons, bolt-ons. And so it's super fragmented, and that's why there just isn't one path to it and there's no one source of truth. And that's exactly what we do. We're an orchestration layer that connects all of those post-purchase systems into one core platform, linked back to the customer promise. We know precisely in real time when that ops issue happens. And then it is able to, we call it a system of detection, a system of decision. So we detect the issue, then develop an action to resolve that, and then the system of action kicks in, and it runs a workflow or it runs an automation, either manually triggered, fully automated, human in the loop, totally automated. It just depends on what our customer wants.
You know, you're so right about those multiple applications. At some point, you know, when buy now, pay later became a hit, and we know when it happened. You know, I went on to a few sites and they looked like a Christmas tree. There were so many options for just for one solutions. Why display? Just you exhaust your customers with these multiple choices. Like the human brain is not wired to think in too many options. Just give me one option, and yes.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that buy now, pay later thing with Surstitch and PE Nation, where they were just all coming out and everyone wanted to be where Afterpay was. And I remember saying to my team, no, let's just strip it off the website. And it's like, oh no, it's a conversion thing. And okay, cool. But yeah, it's just bolt on after bolt on. Yeah, it's bolt on after bolt on. And I think that's what causes the complexity in
but we still see it. We still see it, right? I mean, it's packed. Like everyone just sometimes, not everyone, but we do see people just get very excited about the tech. It's like just this one shiny object that we want to chase, and let's just integrate that. And let's just ask customers first if they want it.
I do feel though, you know, you've got, call it all the pre and in purchase, that's a really hot space. There's a lot of innovation there, and I think ecom managers are faced with a lot of options. But there's really not a lot of solutions post-purchase that make for that better shopper experience. And that's why, we recently put out a playbook that is post-purchase ops is the new loyalty program, simply because if you make sure customers get what they want on time, always, as promised, they're going to keep coming back to you. The second they don't have that great shopper experience, they churn.
Very true. Playbook you mentioned. Did you post it on
Yeah.
LinkedIn? Yes, brilliant. Okay.
No, we've been a little busy. We did send it out to a bunch of retailers, but the plan is to load it on Tuesday next week. It's just been like pretty manic start to the year. But yeah, we've got that playbook ready to go. Yeah.
I've heard. Well done. You're getting lots of traction. There is a lot of noise about you as a human and as a solution on the market. I told you, you never know. One day you're going to be another Nick Molnar's of the world.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think of it that way. My co-founders and I,
Just kidding.
my co-founders and I, we're just super passionate about fixing this problem. Like we lived it as retailers, and every single day we wake up, we're like, how do we make this a better experience for the shopper? But not just the shopper, how do we make this a better experience for the people in customer service? Because if they're dealing with firefighting every single day, they don't like coming to work, And so what we've seen is our retailers have a significant drop-off in churn of employees because they're no longer firefighting, they're having great conversations with customers. And so we're motivated by those two things.
It's actually a very good point because I think in customer service, people don't stay longer than 2 or 3 years. It's impossible. Like I wouldn't last 5 minutes, never mind 2 to 3 years with my temperament.
Yeah, and one of our brands, one of our early adopters, they were running what do you call those net promoter scores or whatever it is for employee engagement, employee engagement scores. Yeah, and their customer service team was the second worst department at like 63%. The worst was the product team. And after implementing KeyU, 6 months later, the customer service had the highest employee engagement score in the late 80s. Yay. And so that's like unheard of, right? Because they're the ones that are kind of like dealing with the fires all the time, right?
All the time. They never hear the good news. Yeah, never. For sure. Yeah. So let's just talk about the cost of lost opportunity. So when brand reacts to tickets instead of fixing the root cause, whatever that might be, what does that cost them over time? So we spoke about staff retention, which is huge, and satisfaction, not just retention. Obviously, when they're satisfied, you retain them for longer.
Yeah. It's like a cancer. There's a lot of things that happen, right? So why is this a really important thing at the moment? I think retailers have got gross margin challenges or they've got profit challenges because of rising costs, rising customer acquisition costs. So margins are getting squeezed, and leadership is saying, how are you protecting LTV? How are you protecting lifetime value? So when this happens, one, you've got a ton of manual repetitive work, so you're having to hire people unnecessarily. First thing. Second thing, 1 in 5 shoppers last year, according to AusPost in Australia, didn't get what they want on time. 78% of them churned. That's a $13 billion problem in Australia, churn of customers churning to a competing retailer. And they just fail silently. Some of them you know about, some of them just go. And so there's that part of it, the cost of churn, the cost of customer acquisition cost, the cost of hiring people more than you need. And then you've got that retention loss, that retention. So we see 3 things. Outside of employee engagement, we see some brands choose to use it as an opportunity when team members churn. They don't necessarily replace them. When they grow, they don't have to hire more people because their teams are more efficient. We're certainly not yet to replace teams. We're yet to augment them so they're doing less manual repetitive work. And then we see customer retention an uplift. So those are really like powerful metrics. And some of our brands are seeing a 1 to 1.5 percentage points extra a net operating profit on the bottom line as a
That's
result.
brilliant. Yeah, because yes, exactly. It all leads to profitability, and that's all we
Yeah,
will all want. Because the
yeah,
cost of running the business is skyrocketing all the time. It sounds
yeah,
like by a minute. So we just do need to look at in those pockets of efficiency for
yeah,
sure. Speaking of which, of course, I'm going to ask you a question about AI. So
yeah.
you're very clear that AI should remove work, not people. What should disappear first? You think,
Yeah,
with
I
the
think
help
the
of AI?
first thing is we've made a really conscious decision not to frame our product as an AI solution. We're saying it's a system of action because it's performing work that has a positive impact on employees and customers' lives. And yeah, we got a component of AI that's taking hold of that, but we've got an incredible core infrastructure to drive the connecting all those systems of record, and then the system of detection, system of decision, system of action. There's a lot of moving. It's not a lot of AI, but sort of go back to your point, what we're finding is teams are having to do less manual repetitive tasks like checking systems, running reports, because if you think of the average customer service person, so let's take a global one of these e-com brands that's global. They might have 3, 4, 5 storefronts. So the customer service person is alt tabbing between those 5 storefronts. First thing, they might have 5 warehouses. Then they're alt tabbing between 5 different warehouses. They might have multiple carrier integrations, multiple carriers, multiple ERP locations. So one retailer had to open 65 tabs, right? And they were alt tabbing between them all day. So, and then they've got to run reports from all of them. And then they've got to cross-reference those reports, like what's happening in deliveries, what's happening at the warehouse. And then they figure out what's going on. I mean, that's an incredible amount of work running those. So less manual repetitive work, running reports, not having to run reports, not having to cross-reference them, not having to write emails to customers anymore, not having for responses, not having to update systems. So we take away all that manual repetitive work, and what we find is the teams are then focused on having positive conversations with customers. So customer service department becomes a profit center, not a cost center, because it's driving revenue for the business. And it changes the relationship completely when you take away 80% of a workday.
A profit center. I will
Yeah,
just probably need to announce it live that let's just call a customer center a profit
profit
center.
center.
It's
Yep.
absolute music to my ears. That's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
one of the businesses I was in, it was actually with my co-founder Tracy when we were at P Nation. She had goals to generate more revenue for the business than her department cost the business, and so that's where we cottoned onto this concept of why does customer service just have to be a cost center? Why is it looked at as a drag on the P&L? It can actually drive revenue, but the challenge is it's really hard for businesses to do that because they need their teams to be proactive. And up until now, to be proactive, the unit economics weren't there because of the amount of manual repetitive work. And we're at an inflection point now where the unit economics make sense because of the way you can automate a lot of this stuff compared to before. So it's now become cost better for the brands than it was cost prohibitive.
What do you
Yeah.
see across the brands? Because you are busy going through so many integrations right now, so you probably will have a very good view of what's happening in the retail world right now. Do you still think that they see this profit center as those people just sit somewhere in the corner answering customer problems, or do you see them becoming? What's the trend of them becoming in the center of all the decision making when it comes to the CX?
Yeah, I certainly believe in the last 2 years since we started building Kiwi, we've seen a dramatic shift in the retailer's mindset. 2 years ago, when we went out and said customer service is reactive, it should be proactive, it was almost like you could hear a dead weight drop. Like it just was, or it was like, what? Sorry, I don't get that concept. And we have certainly noticed, and I'm not sure if it's because we've been doing a lot of work building out playbooks and talking about it, that there has been a shift. And I certainly don't think we're the catalyst for it. But with AI chat, people are saying, okay, we can help with like these chatbots, this concept of being proactive has started to creep in. The thing though with these chat functionalities, these chatbots that are running on the websites, because we're ops focused, we're not facing out to the customer, we're supporting internal teams. Those chat functionalities, the AI related stuff, it's just triaging a ticket faster.
Yeah.
It's not actually removing the problem.
Yeah.
And now what we're seeing as I engage and do discovery calls, I mean, I've done 35 discovery calls this year alone already. And I'm just seeing the people in customer service or e-com ops just immediately going, I want to be proactive. I want to be on the front foot. And I realize I can't do it without technology. And so there's definitely a shift in the marketplace.
You would have learned a lot through those 35 calls.
Yeah, I think we've done, yeah, a lot. Like, and we document everything. I mean, when I say document, we're running it through Gemini and we drop it into the database and we continuously mining that to figure out what the trends are and what's going on. But those discovery calls are gold with retailers, definitely gold. And we're doing a lot in the USA now. A lot of discovery calls, which is really not great for my quality of life because I'm running them at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and 8 a.m. is the last one. But just learning how it's running in two different markets is super interesting. And then also the complexity. We got retailers that are doing nutrition. We got retailers that are doing fashion. We got retailers that are pharmacy. We got retailers that are large bulky goods. It's really interesting to see people's pain points.
How do they find you out in the US?
We've been doing reach out, so
Okay.
like just old school cold calling. Like right now, getting connected with. I think their inboxes are just flooded, just old school cold calling. One, and two, we actually had a really powerful situation where one of our existing customers shifted around into a role in the US, and they made it a prerequisite that they got KeyU as part of joining their company. It was like, I'm not going to come join you if I don't have KeyU. So we actually landed our biggest customer as a result of that, which is David Beckham's nutrition and health brand, IM8. Yeah, pretty
I
powerful.
love David Beckham, the most charismatic guy. Oh my God, congrats. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
we're pretty stoked about that. And these little wins are really powerful. Like when you're building something from
They're the
nothing, and
best. They're the best.
they're just really a good feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they are. And they're great brand advocates for you. So to get that
Mhm.
traction, I think you're getting a
Yeah.
lot of traction right now. And I also like the fact that you've chosen that educational approach on the market. So no wonder 2 years ago, to your point, it felt like a dead weight dropped. Not that
Exactly.
I know the
Yeah.
sound of the weight, dead weight dropping, but let's just imagine I do.
Yeah. I do.
Anyway, let's move on from there. But I think now I've heard a lot about Q already. Obviously, I'm paying attention, I'm following you, we
Yeah.
had a discussion,
Yeah.
but there are other people telling me about you as well. So I think
Yeah.
that
Oh.
the advocacy it exists, and I think we are more focused on CX than before.
Mm.
Thank God, as we should, and that just should be a foundation for any brand and any business. But we can't just shy away from it, and now we're going back to basics. And coming back to
Oh.
basics and having this come to Jesus moment sometimes is a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, and I learned that lesson at SurfStitch when I joined there. I remember someone saying to me, the founder of SurfStitch actually had customer service reporting to him directly, and I was like, oh wow. And usually that's not the case, right? They report to like an ops person or an ecom person. So when I went to PE Nation, that was the first thing I did. I said, I want Tracy, who's one of my co-founders. I want her in the office next to me. And we both got into work at 7 a.m. every day. And I would go and sit with her for the first 15 minutes of every day, because you sort of got the pulse of what's going on, without a doubt, a pulse. And that was a big learning for me straight out the gate.
That's a very unusual experience, even now, as you know, because I always ask all my clients the same question, and they're probably uh, sick and tired of me talking about it. But I ask them a question: Who owns the customer? And
Oh,
the answer I get: everyone or no one. And you know it's a problem. Then
yeah,
they ask me a question: So who do you think should own the customer? And my
yeah,
answer to them is you.
Yeah.
You as a CEO, you
Yep.
as a founder, you as a GM, you as a head of brand, because you're the only person who can prioritize the
Yep.
strategy and the operational efficiency across your teams, because you lead the team. You need to tell
Yep.
them what is important, and you don't have to do it yourself. But that
Mm.
person, this customer chief officer, should be reporting into you.
100%. And then the other learning I had was, and I got, and I'm not, again, I'm not smart. Like I just learned from other smart people. And at PE Nation, Tracy, my co-founder, she said to me, Jevon, I want to own e-commerce operations and customer service, post-purchase operations and customer service. And so I said, why? Because that's not the case in a lot of businesses. And I'm seeing that trend now evolving where customer service owns both. And I said, why? And she says, because what happens upstream becomes my downstream problem. And so if I know what's happening upstream, I can prevent that problem from becoming a customer challenge. And so I've noticed a bit of a trend. We've been advocating for that customer service should own e-com ops, post-purchase ops, not the warehouse. You know, not the warehouse, right? And especially if it's a 3PL, like, sorry, I don't get that.
Definitely not.
No, definitely
Definitely.
not. And and I feel any business that has implemented that strategy where customer service owns everything after the buy button, you can then ensure a better customer experience because it's not siloed and fragmented.
Yes. Well, first of all, Tracy is a very smart woman, and so are you. I'm going to challenge you on that, because if you were not, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. And but
Let me just interrupt, just jump in there. No, I'm extremely stupid because starting this from nothing, you're mad or stupid building something from nothing. Sorry, I just
yeah,
sorry.
okay. Well, let's just argue in the open forum live about this, or we can take it
Mm,
offline. But
mm,
I do agree, though, that the A players should hire A players, and they should hire people who are smarter than them. That was my
mm.
philosophy in my corporate
Yeah,
career for a very long time, and it
yeah,
worked perfectly well for me, because I just hired people that's smarter than me. So I just looked kind of semi-smart most of the time. They made
yeah,
me look smarter.
yeah,
Anyway, looking smart. So for a CX or e-commerce leaders who may already listening to it or will listen to this conversation soon, what's one sign they are fighting symptoms, not solving a real problem that you can pinpoint? I'm sure your playbook covers that, but what do you think?
yeah. It's just chaos, right? It's just chaos, and you know, that to me, you know, we kind of ran it through the playbook where we did, I think it's 14 questions where you go tick box yourself and you ask, and then we've created a 5-point plan around completely reactive. You got no help desk. You're getting everything through email to somewhat reactive. You've got a help desk. You're triaging your complaints. Uh, Not fast to you got a help desk and you're triaging them really fast to you're somewhat proactive, but it's having to be very manual to you're fully orchestrated. The thing is, our research is 80% of brands are sitting in the first two tiers, and I just think the sort of call out is how big are those ticket build-ups? Like how big is the ticket build-up? How long does it take? Because then you know you've got complex problems to solve, or you've got a really bad customer service team. But then also, I think it's the churn of the employees. If it's bad, you're going to be churning customer service people all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I knew what the answer was, but I just wanted you to articulate it. But I'm in
Yeah.
total agreement with that. We're going to wrap up, and I'm going to ask you one more question. So I've gone through 10, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
If a brand does only one thing after this conversation, what should it be in your opinion? Outside of obviously dialing your mobile number immediately.
I think it would be reorganizing. I think it's two things, right? Or no, one thing, reorganizing customer service to report to you if you're a brand owner, if you're a CEO, first thing. Second thing is give them ownership over the post purchase journey. And I would, before doing those two things, assess whether you got the right people to be able to lead that complexity. If you don't, find the right people to do it. But I think those are the first two things you do. get closer to your customer through your customer service manager with no breaks, and to combine those two functions together, post-purchase and CX, into one.
Yes.
You'll move up to level 3 or 4 immediately. Then you call us for the system to orchestrate. But certainly do those two things first.
Yeah. Or in reverse, it all depends, right? But
Yeah,
I always say that happy staff equals happy customers. So it all
yep,
goes.
yep,
It's not in isolation. It all goes
yeah,
hand in hand beautifully.
yep, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you,
Cool.
everyone. Thank you, Jevon. It's been such a pleasure. I get to hear again about KU and the solution, and you as a human. So always a pleasure. And I do hope that you get lots of phone calls. I look forward to downloading that playbook as well. Everyone
Yeah.
else, enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, we'll see you very soon. Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks a lot for having me.